April 3rd, 2023. This is the 2000 tick chart on the S&P E-Futures Mini on the Thinkorswim platform. Just go down to the bottom where the descriptions are, and you can see where I saw timestamps, where I saw potential setups, as well as where I took my trades. This is what the chart looked like today, and this is how I had it marked up. I only took 2 trades today, and it was actually kind of a slow day, even though there was a lot of, looked like there was some big swings. And I'm just going to get rid of these 2 real quick. Originally, I saw the pre-market high, which is here in this gray zone, and the pre-market low, and I thought it might be in this trading range because it looked like it tested it twice, but then it never came all the way back down. So this trading range actually wasn't very useful at all because afterwards, when the market opened and came back down, it never really respected this trading range. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. There was another time where I thought maybe there was a trading range right here because it looked like it was kind of touching here and maybe all the way up to here. However, this big trading range also, the high and the low, doesn't really help in the trading. I didn't see any trades to take off of these big ranges. Plus, by the time this formed, there wasn't any clean setup. And then by the time it coming up to here, there was no real setup as well. So maybe prices are actually in this giant trading range, but during the actual trading time, this it wasn't very helpful at all. So I did find this larger trend channel going up and this one coming down, as well as some consolidation areas, but overall I didn't find too many setups today. I think I only saw like maybe less than a handful, maybe just like 4. I took 2 trades. One of them, the first one I thought was maybe risky after hindsight, after I reviewed it, and the second one I thought was all right. So overall, the trading candles today, they're kind of tight because the overall range in the regular hours was about 41.57 to about 41.27. So it's only about 30 points of movement. So to push for anything more was a little bit risky. So I kind of decreased my profit target from 2 points down to 1 point. I kept it at 2 points here, but my runner got stopped out, and I kept it at 1 point here, and my runner also got stopped out. So we're going to go into the trades. Shouldn't take too long because for me, I didn't see that many clean, safe setups. Maybe with more experience, I would probably recognize setups that were, I guess, considered safe. But at my experience level right now, I didn't see too many, so it was a little more challenging for me. These yellow bars down at the bottom, I just drew for myself. It just shows what from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, this is how much, price action was. Then from 8 to 9 Pacific Standard, and then 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. So you can see prices definitely started slowing down after about an hour and a half of trading, because there's not very many candles in here. So if there's not very many candles on 2000 tick, there's not going to be very many setups. And if there are, then you have to be very careful that you're taking good setups because it just took a while for things to play out. So I'll go ahead and zoom in. This is what the pre-market looked like. Again, I had a top of a trading range here and a bottom here, but I went ahead and deleted those because they actually didn't turn out to be useful in any way. I did see this one leg up, and then I thought maybe there was a second leg up, and it does kind of make a measured move up to here, but this is in the pre-market, so I wasn't around to trade it. Then I also saw another potential one leg up here and a second leg up. Now in the beginning, I did see like a new high, first entry long, second entry long here. This is kind of going sideways, but this is also in the pre-market, so I wasn't available to take it. And right at the open, you would have probably gotten a pretty okay scalp and then maybe a runner, but again, I wasn't there. So the first setup I did see, and as I said before in other videos, there are a bunch of second entries everywhere throughout the whole day, but the ones that I want to take are the high probability second entries. So not just any old second entries. Now, what consists of a good high probability setup will be different for each person depending on your risk level. So I'm a little more conservative and I try to look for really clean setups. And well, since I'm not as proficient as the, I guess, more professional or more experienced guys, my selection gets smaller and smaller. And for the last week, as well as today, price action had been very stingy with setups. So I felt it was kind of like that today, a lot of sitting around. So anyways, the first setup I did see was here. Saw a new high, first entry long, and then a second entry long right here. I didn't want to take this though, because right now on this, the signal bar isn't looking very good. But when it broke up above, I actually did try to enter it on the next candle right here, and I kept it one tick above the signal bar, which is this guy. And I actually didn't get filled, and I thought this was a decent trade. And I drew this trading range here, and I thought at the time, this is probably where support is, slight overshoot. And I drew this guy cutting across. I thought this is another overshoot, kind of matching this guy. Overshoot on the bottom, came up overshoot, and then it kind of held. So I thought, there's kind of a good support here. So I did try to enter on this candle, but I wasn't filled. And I tried to enter right about where this midline was. So unfortunately, I didn't get filled, and it looked like it would have worked. Prices continue moving sideways. And then in the beginning, I wasn't sure where this trend line was, because I at one time had different variations, because I thought, okay, maybe it's here. I might cut it up a little bit higher, but I didn't like that pretty soon. And I thought, okay, maybe here, and there's a slight overshoot right here. So maybe it was like from here to about right there. And that kind of fit all right for a little while, this one right here. But I also was a little bit sketchy about this undershoot right here. But for here, also overshot, and it looked like it was fitting somewhat well. I eventually settled on this guy, which you're going to see in a little bit, because it fit pretty well up all at the top. Prices continue moving. You can say there's a new high, first entry long, then it breaks below the EMA. You don't really get a second entry long until this red candle. So this is a pretty good signal bar. And this is technically where the second entry long happens, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It didn't really come down and touch this, and it's far from the EMA. And even if you had the original or the other line here, you could say it did bounce, but it broke through, like it broke through and then it's coming back up. So you could say maybe it's a first entry long and then group this big move, including this guy, as a second entry. But even on this candle, I didn't like that it was below potentially this line, and then maybe it hadn't even bounced off of that line. So I didn't think there was a setup there. Ends up breaking through. Now it's like not touching the EMA. There's no good setup here to get an entry on, at least that I could find. There was maybe one here if you count this as a new low, first entry short, and then maybe a potential second entry short, but it's far from the EMA. I didn't like that. Prices continue moving down, and this is actually where I took my first trade. And at the time I thought it was all right, but in hindsight, I think it was probably kind of risky. So what I did see here is, like, I thought there was a new low here. It's a first entry short right here, second entry short. And I thought, okay, well, at the time I saw this, I thought, okay, well, now it's breaking back up because it broke out of this channel, and I'm thinking it might come back down. It went up, and what I saw was one leg up, pull back, and then a potential second leg up, kind of the big visual. And I saw that this kind of formed above the EMA. So I thought maybe there's a slight reversal that's coming. And I did have this shortened trend channel. Now, where I thought at the time, I didn't pay too much attention. I thought, okay, it broke up, and there's potentially a higher low here off the count of first entry short, second entry short, and then it kind of comes up, maybe there's a higher low here. But then that higher low didn't confirm a failed second entry short. So then it's also a first entry short, second entry short. And I thought maybe this is a failed second entry short with a potential higher low. So that's how I saw it. But I think in hindsight, after I thought about it some more, it was stalling out when I entered, and my exit or my stop was actually one tick below here. And so it did come close a couple times, but then it eventually gave me more confidence, because at one time I was thinking of just getting out break even. But when the EMA was holding, I thought, okay, I'm just going to hold it here and not break the rules. Either it's going to hit my limit or it's going to hit my stop. In hindsight, this wasn't a good setup, I think, to be holding or digging my heels into. So if I actually, in hindsight, had just gotten out break even, I think that would have been acceptable, because this wasn't exactly a very good clean setup. Yeah, but at the time, I thought it was. So, with the benefit of hindsight, I just looked at it again. I said, nah, that wasn't really a good idea to take that trade. Turns out it would have worked, but I think that just happens because it just would have worked, not because I took a really good high probability trade. Prices continue moving up. I draw this trend channel. And so right now you just see this big move up. It pulls back. It takes back pretty much the entire move. from regular trading hours and breaks below. Didn't go back all the way down to the pre-market, but it's already showing like it's kind of choppy. So it keeps moving up, and this is where I take my second entry. Now this one, not second entry, second trade. And I thought this one's actually certainly better than the previous trade. So I did see a new high, and I had this potential trading range. I had this trading range here originally, and I saw it break out, it came back, and so it never touched the EMA until about right here. So it went new high, first entry long, and it's creating a second entry long. I like the look of this candle because it closed at the high. And I thought, okay, well, it looks like EMA is holding. This candle is pretty tiny. It's it's only about, let me see, looks like it's about about 5 ticks big. So I thought the risk was worth it to try for this bounce. It was also bouncing off of this ascending channel. So I thought there's two key entry points. It closed above, it bounced off of here. And so here I was able to get in, and I also reduced my profit target from 2 points down to 1 point. So I was just looking for about 6 ticks. I was able to get filled. And then my runner got stopped out on this candle because I had it actually 1 tick below here. And I thought, okay, I'm risking about 6 ticks for about 6 ticks. And then my runner, I was hoping it'd kind of keep going up, but it got stopped out on this candle. So it was my second and only trade. And then price action just kind of kept getting kind of choppy, and it's just moving down. I saw a potential failed second entry short here because it's a new low. And I saw this as a potential support, like a triple test. So the first entry short comes up as a second entry short. But this is technically where the second entry short happened on this red candle. And then it broke up, but it didn't break up higher than this guy. If it did, I think I might have tried to take an order, but since it didn't, and then when this candle formed, it looks like it was coming back, but I also wanted it to touch the bottom of this, where the EMA was, to feel more confident. So I ended up just skipping that trade. And I said, well, I'll look for a higher low confirmation. And unfortunately, the higher low never shows up, because if this would have, if this could have been a higher low, prices continued moving up, but it didn't. So the higher low never came up. So this trade was just a no trade, just a setup that happened to be there, and would have been risky to have taken long on that failed second entry short. Prices continued down. I saw 2 legs down, 1 leg down, second leg down. And I thought, okay, maybe there's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. The reason I didn't like this trade, even though it bounced off the bottom of this trading range, even though also this is a good signal bar, is I wasn't 100% sure, because I'm still working through seeing things on a larger scale, because I technically also saw this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. And then this could be a new high, first entry long, second entry long. And granted, this is a setup here. And I think in the moment, I didn't see everything clearly. So, and it has made a measured move. So I think there could have been a trade here. I wasn't experienced enough to see it and take it in real time. So prices continue moving. I did see a higher low here because I counted this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short, fails. So I thought, okay, I'll look for a higher low. But it came down and made like kind of like a double bottom here. So technically you could say it is a higher low. What prevented me from taking this trade was I wasn't sure if this trading range is at the midpoint, if it's going to push back down, because here is a bullish bias, and then here, it kind of came down, touched the bottom. I wasn't sure if it was going to break back down, but again, with hindsight, I saw this as actually a pretty decent candle. So this is kind of like a possible trade that I unfortunately missed. Then prices continue moving up, breaks out. I try to find a channel to fit this. It could have been a spike in a channel. Where this dotted line was could have been where the channel was, but I ended up just keeping it down here after this formed here. But even then, I didn't see any good entries or any safe entries for me to take. And then prices just kind of kept moving up, and then it was getting kind of late in the day. I did see this new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this isn't a very good candle, plus below the EMA. And right now it looks like EMA is kind of tapering and it's flattening out. But then I see a repeat setup here. It's a first new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is also not the best signal bar, so I left that alone. And then again, when this formed here, I thought, okay, this is probably the first leg down and then the second leg down. But this is already so late in the day, I just didn't want to take it because look, it's already at 12:50. Regular market hours close in about 10 minutes, so I didn't want to just risk anything. I felt like I got a good trade here with my really humble 1 point scalp, and then this one just happened to work out for me, and I don't think it was the best trade, so I thought I should just be happy that I was able to escape through the first trade and get the second trade. So yeah, even if this set up earlier, I don't know that I would have taken this trade as one leg down, second leg down, just because, it wasn't a very good signal bar. You could count this as a signal bar, but then technically you're not following the rules then. And then I just didn't feel as good enough of the trade. So other than these two setups, I think this potentially could have been a trade here. And that's kind of the only things that I saw today. So hopefully, probably other people did better than me, but yeah, it was a little bit choppy. Trading has been kind of difficult these past few days. I think it's just the volume and volatility have been kind of sluggish and slow. So most of the trades, I mean, if they set up, then they kind of just have these big swings that were hard to just get in on. So hopefully that was helpful.